evening and good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, tonight one more time continuing with our focus on education, with our focus on the exam calendar. Tonight we specifically talk about the two big exams that are lined up in the coming weeks. The first one being the JEE exam, supposed to take place between 1st to 6th of September, and then the NEET exam. Two nationwide entrance exams, extremely crucial, and lakhs of students together will be taking these exams. Now, this is happening amid a pandemic, and so despite the fact that the government refuses to budge, despite the fact that the Supreme Court has said that life must go on and exams must be held, the controversy and the debate over cancelling of exams because of COVID continues. And as is usually with key issues, only towards the end, only in the last phase of an important incident, do we see the political parties waking up, perhaps because they only intend to do politics and don't really care about what's going on. So viewers, tonight, even as I bring in politicians on the debate of whether or not exams should be held, I want to make it very clear. This is because we need to understand that the centre and the state, along with the organizing authorities for NEET and JEE, will have to ensure that if we hold these exams, they go on smoothly, safely, and that lives of lakhs of us candidates, exam aspirants are not put at risk. But as the controversy grows, as the chorus grows for cancellation of the exams, what is it that finally various states are saying? Well, from Odisha, the Chief Minister says more than 50,000 students from Odisha are preparing and appearing for NEET. Another 40,000 will be appearing for the JEE main exam. It would be unsafe, perilous for students to visit test centers. We request that the exams be postponed for the safety of the students, says Naveen Patnaik. And there are others, including Mamata Banerjee, who have raised this issue. Let me also tell you what Mamata Banerjee has to say about it. And Mamata Banerjee says we should not be putting lives of students at risk, that it is extremely important right now at this stage for centre to assess the risk and postpone the exams. Our duty is to ensure a safe environment for all students, says the Chief Minister of West Bengal. Let me also tell you what M.K. Stalin of the DMK has to say. With restrictions, allotted exam centers are not accessible to everybody. Students and parents are under enormous mental pressure and stress. It is not possible for students from rural areas and from less privileged sections to reach the exam centers. Aditya Thackeray from Maharashtra saying this isn't practical and feasible at all, as most states are facing increasing number of COVID cases. Along with red zones still in place and transport yet to resume, this is a great risk. Manish Sisodia, perhaps one of those who's been raising this issue repeatedly for a while about college exams and now entrance exams, by going ahead with JEE and NEET, centre is playing with the lives of students. Alternative arrangements should be made for admissions in this unprecedented crisis. And then there are those of the Congress party who simply want to be part of this entire scenario. Now, the question I'm asking, and we're going to be opening our phone lines as well, is one, of course, should the government reconsider? As more and more states call for cancellation of exams, should the centre reconsider the decision to hold these exams? And if not, how exactly are we going to do it? How are the students going to reach the examination centres? What about students who live far away from these examination centres? Are we going to give them public transport? Are we going to arrange for accommodation? Is it enough to say those who fail the thermal screening test will be made to sit in isolation and take the exam? What is the risk that we're exposing to not just that person, but everybody around there in times of a pandemic? Some of the questions I have. Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining me right now. Shweta Shalini, spokesperson for the BJP, Dr. Saeed Nasir Hussain, Member of Parliament for Rajya Sabha, and a national spokesperson for the Congress Party, Kalikesh Narayan Singh Deo, former Member of Parliament and a BJD leader. Bharat Uday, a JEE aspirant, also joining us. And Bharat has a very interesting view. He believes the exams should be held right now. There shouldn't be any more noise about this. It's all right for us to hold the exams right now. Bharat, let me see if I can come to you first. And why is it that you feel that you're prepared and this is a doable task? Bharat, can you hear me?
Am I audible?
Yes, now you are. Go ahead, please, if you heard my question.
Thank you so much. The exams are really important to be conducted right now because most of us have been preparing for them for about 2 years or maybe even 3 years, and putting them under a lot of pressure because of not getting them conducted is not right, according to as I consider, due to the pressure on mental health. First of all, we cannot afford to even lose contact or lose touch with the education or with the studies that we are doing. So we are unable to focus on other things, especially the other skills that we require to develop.
Okay, in fact, Bharat, I wanted to understand that from you because this is very important, especially, for JEE aspirants. It's not that you start preparing for it only after you reach 12th class. Many of the aspirants start 5 years in advance and prepare for these entrance exams. They don't really bother so much about their board exams or the score that they get for their board exams. So do you believe, those who are making the argument that you find alternative ways, maybe even look at class 12th exams, really don't know how students go about JEE exams and preparing for them?
Definitely, we can certainly consider 12th exams because most of us preparing for JEE or maybe even NEET are not much concerned about their 12th academics, especially the board exams, and much more focused on the entrance examinations.
Okay, let me bring in our other panelist, Kalikesh Narayan. Let's start with you. Odisha has about 50,000 entrants for NEET, 40,000 more for JEE, and the Chief Minister believes the exams should be postponed. Isn't it too late in the day to be raising this demand?
Well, Tanvi, there are 90,000 students appearing in 7 centers across the state. Now, we were all hoping that because of the strict lockdown paraphernalia and the caution of the central government as well as the courts, who themselves are not sitting in physical contact every day, that they would take a decision which actually ensures the welfare of these students. I sympathize with Uday, the young boy who spoke earlier, and I understand his anxiety to give the exams. But there are a number of students who don't enjoy the same privileges or the advantages that he may enjoy or others like him may enjoy. There are people who are in far-flung districts like Malkangiri, tribal people who haven't had access to safe travel to these places of the examination centers. I mean, the kind of disarray you will find with these examination centers going across the country, that numbers of students, tens and thousands of students will be packed into one little room. And what happens to the safety of these students? I mean, again, I empathize with the students who are prepared and who have been trying to give this exam, but there is a huge amount of problem which has to be tackled. And I don't think the government of India has thought this through. I really believe that this needs to be given a lot more thought. And then maybe they can do it in a staggered manner. Maybe they can do it, partly online. I don't know what the answer is, but the answer is certainly not to have the exam today in today's circumstances.
No, I understand that if you have a view that it's not possible at all, it is dangerous. 90,000 people across 7 centers by itself sounds a huge number, and the concerns about crowding and overcrowding. But Kalikesh, my point is exactly this. We here at Mirror Now have been speaking about exams, entrance exams, final year college exams, big issues for a really long time. Now, a week before the exams are to be held, isn't it too late in the day to be raising this demand, if not for politics?
Look, I don't think it's purely for politics. I mean, let's be clear, in a state like Odisha with 4.5 crore people, there are 90,000 students who are doing it. Now, the genuine concern is really about the welfare and safety of these students. You have to understand the state governments have been severely stressed with corona protocols and lockdowns. And this is one of the first exams which has actually come and hit them on their faces. And yes, they may have taken it up a little bit too late, but really we were all hoping that the Supreme Court would take the decision in the best interest of the people. After this, I mean, I know Mira now has been raising this issue for a long time. After this will be the question of those in government schools. What about them and how is their education happening? I mean, you and I can have Zoom classes for our children, but there are lakhs and lakhs of children who are going to have almost a zero year because government schools will hardly be opening. I mean, this is a huge debate which has to go on.
Okay, absolutely. Let me bring in Shweta Shalini. Shweta Shalini, irrespective of the fact that the government is insistent, the Supreme Court says life must go on. I want to talk about the specifics. 90,000 aspirants across just 7 centers. Can we imagine the crowd that would gather there? And how are these people supposed to reach these exam centers?
Exactly, Tanvi. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to point out. One, this topic is definitely not a topic of discussion anymore because the Supreme Court of India has actually said that we have to conduct examination. Now, why? Because it cannot be a zero academic year for our students. You heard students' voice and you heard Bharat on your program to say that students who prepare for JEE and NEET prepare for nearly 5 long years and they now want exams conducted. But I also understand and empathize with all these states who have been raising their concerns because now I think the discussion should meander over the implementation of how we are going to implement these examinations. The policy at the central level is out and I do not think and I still hope as a mother, not as a BJP spokesperson, but as a mother, that I understand that it is a very, very difficult situation. But I also stand by what Supreme Court said, that we cannot be in perpetual lockdown mode forever. Like the economy needs to move on, the students need to move on, and the academic year needs to move on. Now, getting to implementation mode at the state level, the state today are getting and finding out politics within and trying to ensure that they do not need to implement or they have one less protocol to implement. I think we need to go one extra step and say that we will have to live our life with Corona and we will have to learn to do it. And if that amounts to extra work for the state government, then so be it. Because the future of the next generation is extremely critical for us as the central government and as the country.
No, so tell me, what if the future of the next generation is so important, why are we risking the lives of thousands of these students, their family members, and forgetting the fact that not everybody has access to the same kind of transport, to the same kind of network support system that perhaps some of us in the cities would. I mean, I am frankly quite relieved today. I am sitting in the office studio and life is so much better talking to all of you. If I was at my house on a connection like you all are, Shweta Shalini, what the network issues are. That's how, the life is right now. Now, how do we expect those students who've gone back to their homes in far-off towns, entire Kota city shut for the last 6 months, them to prepare, them to travel, mentally prepare, physically prepare, reach this place, figure out stay, accommodation for themselves, their family. How are we expecting them to do that?
So Tanvi, again, I told you this is not a question of the central government because it is according to Supreme Court ruling that central government has to conduct these tests. Now, second thing is, how are we supposed to do it? And I completely agree with you about the network, broadband issues. In fact, I agree to almost all the points that Kalikesh ji said. But then the point is that if we have to do something, we need to go an extra step and do it. Now, to answer your question, these are unprecedented times. How we should do it, I do not know. But should we do it and should we take one step at a time? The first step, I think, is the examination. So, Supreme Court has given a ruling, a 3-bench judge has given a ruling saying that yes, we should conduct these tests. Now, first, let's look at conducting these tests. Hence, the guidelines are very, very clear that gloves will be given, there'll be staggered timing, transportation will be allocated, time slots will be allocated, and so on and so forth. Beyond this, I think as far as classes is concerned, we might look at different attempts.
No. So we will talk about that. Classes are later. Classes are later. We will talk about that. Nobody's opening schools and colleges right away. We'll talk about that. Tonight, let's focus on the exams that are going to happen in the next, 15 days to 3 weeks. And I understand when you sit here as a national spokesperson, Shweta Shalini, for the BJP and say, well, the centre has decided, the onus is on the states. But you're also a representative of a party that is in power in many of these states today. Tell me, give me one example of how Haryana, how interiors of Uttar Pradesh, how interiors of Gujarat are going to ensure that, students are able to take these exams.
So in Karnataka, well, let me give you an example. Karnataka, we recently conducted a test. Now, but then the point is, I do not know the answer as yet. But we are working towards it because we have to work towards it. That's precisely what I'm trying to tell you. This is no question of debate. The question is, we also would not have wanted the corona situation to be there. But unfortunately, we have to be facing corona. Now that corona is there, COVID times are there, we need to be looking at alternate way. If things would have been in the hands of the centre, then things might have been different. But now we have gone to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has given a ruling. Exams have to be conducted. Now the question is, how do we look at implementation? If that means ensuring...
No, please don't. This is very convenient. I'm sorry, this is very convenient. To now fire from the shoulder of the Supreme Court, Shweta Shalini. The centre had it well within its limits to stand in the Supreme Court and say, no, we are also of the opinion it's difficult right now to conduct exams across the country. Situation is in Patna may be different from Bhagalpur. Situation in Mumbai may be different from Akot or Akola in Maharashtra. Situation in Chennai or Madurai may be very different from what's there in Chidambaram. We cannot have a same rule in the same state of affairs, but you didn't do that. So please now don't say, well, the Supreme Court has said so, it's not in our hands. When the situation was in your hands, the centre was very clearly of the view. In fact, I want to tell my viewers this. This is what we have been told, and this is what Mirror Now has found from the Education Ministry officials, that we have taken stakeholders, parents and teachers in confidence for holding this exam. In fact, we have ensured that 99.8% students were given the first preference as their centre. Now remember, viewers, first preference as your exam centre doesn't necessarily mean it's the centre next door to your house. It may not even mean it's the centre in the same city or town that you live in, because these are nationwide entrance exams. So to say that we gave 99.87% candidates got their first choice of centre means nothing. Because if the choice is out of 3 cities, you will end up choosing one. That still may not be the city you belong to. I remember when we gave entrance exams, we travel all across states for whatever centre was allotted to us. That's how these entrance exams work, and I'm sure the students know better than me about that. The ministry's one basic argument is that the academic year is not a zero year, so exams are necessary. Exams are needed as class 12 marks cannot be used as a criteria, which is what Bharat was telling us, who is a candidate this time. I've also got Advait, who's joining us right now. Advait is also going to be taking these exams. Advait, what exam are you preparing for, and how long have you been studying for it?
I'm a fresher. I am a NEET aspirant.
Okay, so you're a fresher and you're a NEET aspirant. Advait, what is your view? Should the exams be held?
Exams should not be held in this situation because according to the World Health Organization latest report, now the mode of infection has been changed from droplet transmission to aerosol transmission. So no SOP can ensure the safety of the students.
Advait, where are you based? Which and what is your exam center? I mean, I'm hoping the exam center is in the same city for you.
No, around 70 kilometers.
Around 70 kilometers. So how are you planning to travel?
Either bike or car. Other than that, public transportation is for the name right now due to this pandemic. Everything is not going well. So
Okay, I understand.
So
Advait
it would
and
be
Bharat, two aspirants, two candidates with very different views here sitting on our conversation. Let me also go along to Dr. Said Nasir Hussain. Dr. Hussain, thank you for speaking and joining us on the show. But Dr. Hussain, I want to understand, why is the Congress party also waking up so late to this entire issue?
First, let me make it very clear that the Bharatiya Janata Party government at the center cannot hide behind the decision of the judgment of the Supreme Court. As you mentioned earlier, the government had enough time to prepare itself to face this kind of a situation. Moreover, the Supreme Court itself was shut for a long time. Even now, the cases are being heard via video conferencing or Zoom conference, whatever it is. So, the court itself is not in a position to meet regularly and hear the cases, but they want the entire one generation of students to risk their life, go travel hundreds of kilometers, reach the examination centers, and these guys will not go alone. Their families will have to travel with them, and there are not enough centers near their hometowns where they can actually go for say 10, 20, 30 kilometers and write the exam. There's so much of tension for all these kids. See, they are all our own people, they are our own kids. Instead of being helpful to them, we are risking and playing with their lives. The government should clearly understand, when there were exams suspended in the month of April and May in many of the states, has this situation improved or worsened? The pandemic has worsened in the last 3 months. We are world number 3 now. Now, what has changed so much that you want to have examination now? We could have a plan A, we could have a plan B. See, when we go into a war, we have plan A, plan B, plan C. Now, you work on plan A, and if it doesn't work, you have a plan B. You are not prepared anything to ease the sufferings of these students, to give them less tension, to see that they gleefully go and write their exams. Where is the preparation and what the government has done for that? You just can't say that the Supreme Court has come out with a judgment and we have to implement the judgment. I think someone should file a PIL for a review petition in the court and fight for the cause of the students. See, I have been a student leader for many years. I can understand the plight of the students. These students are not organized. Thousands and thousands of students were on hunger strike.
No, but Dr.
While
Hussain,
they are not able to meet, but still they have been sitting in their houses and they are on hunger strike.
Okay,
And
Dr.
this
Hussain, I
government should
appreciate
listen
that
to the
you
voices of the
understand
students and plan accordingly.
Dr. Hussain, I understand that you see the plight of the students, as you say, but now is not the time, and where is the time, honestly, to go for a review petition? Are we saying that now we will go back and there will be another round of back and forth? We can't be ignorant to the fact that that too is going to play on the minds of students. They're almost prepared to now take their exams a week later from here on. Again, if we, postpone them, set up a committee, figure out what the solution is, another 3 or 4 months go by. Is that going to be fair on these candidates?
See, I think nobody is asking for complete doing away with the entrance examination. What everyone is arguing there, I think Kalikesh argued and a couple of others also argued for postponement of the examination, for better preparation, more centers, and better transport facilities for the students, and having if somebody is suffering some sort of an help help for them and some sort of an support so that they can go to the examination center, read the examination center in a proper frame of mind, because this is something, as somebody had just mentioned, this preparation is for 3 years, 4 years, 3-4 years preparation, and then you want them to go and write the examination full of tension. So my point is, please plan properly, put all the infrastructure and logistical things in place, have more centers, reach out. There are floods in UP, Bihar and Assam. I don't know how the students will reach from those states to the examination center.
Yeah.
These logistical problems are there. I think they should postpone the exam and see that all these things are prepared well and the government is ready, students are ready, then you have the exams.
Okay, Kalikesh wanted to come in, make a point, and then Shweta Shalini can respond. Yes, Kalikesh, go ahead, please.
Quickly, I'll just say this. You know, one of the concerns is exams are being held. The other major concern is the manner in which it is being held.
Correct.
As we talked about before, 7 centers and 90,000 students. You'll be cramping 15 to 20,000 students in each center, if you do the maths. And people are going to be traveling for more than 400, 500 kilometers to get to these centers. Why can't we have a center in every district? So that travel becomes easier, centers don't get overcrowded, and the exam could be, could be done in a better and more organized and better protocol, and probably managed much better. I mean, this is something squarely with the central government. I don't buy the argument that the Supreme Court's given order and that's it. We have to go ahead with the manner in which we are going about it now. Increase the number of centers. You could have given it much better thought about it earlier, made sure that the exams and the center and logistics are worked out better. I think that's something which still can be worked out. And that squarely lies with the central government.
I just want to point this out. Look at the statistics. For JEE, there are about 8.58 lakh candidates, 8,58,273 candidates, of which we know about 6.5 lakh, maybe by now more. This was the last data that the government gave us. 6.5 lakh had already downloaded their admit cards. But how many centers do they have? Well, roughly about 1,100 centers for different. So 605 centers for B.Tech and B, and 489 centers for B architecture and B planning. I don't know if they're different or similar or common. Even if they are common, then it comes to roughly about 600 centers. If they are separate centers, then it's still about 1,000 to 1,100 centers for 8.5 lakh people. So obviously, there aren't enough and they aren't spread out. That is the concern that many have raised. Shweta Shalini.
Yes, I completely agree. And these are implementation challenges. And I wanted to point out two things here, very, very importantly. One is, Nasirji was talking about that somebody should do a PIL. Most states and most leaders, if you actually look at, are looking at saying and doing politics around the subject. But none of them could raise one PIL into the Supreme Court. So one, I think we should keep the politics out. I liked the idea of Naveen Patnaik ji coming out, and even Kalikesh ji here pointed out that there are 30 districts in the state of Odisha, and why can't we have a center in every district? Now, he and I both know that the education department and the district level state education department are both not ready to have one center in every district because this has historically never been done. A center needs not only the infrastructure, it also needs teachers, it needs staff, and plus it needs to follow certain other protocols. Now, these are implementation challenges, but I'm sure that we are working towards how to solve all these around. And between the state government, which are looking at the challenge positively, and the center, I'm sure some opportunity and some solution will definitely be worked out.
I don't know when. The JEE exam starts from 1st of September. This is 25th of August. I don't know when that will happen.
While we sit and debate,
states like Bihar, Gujarat, 1 minute please. States, Shweta Shalini, I'm coming to you. States like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Gujarat, heavily flooded, heavy incessant rainfall. States like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, badly hit by floods. Bihar has been struggling for a while. Look at the visual on your screens, viewers. This is the visual we got yesterday in East Godavari district, where the authorities used a boat to ferry a COVID patient to the hospital. Look at the amount of flooding. The authorities, understanding the importance of COVID right now, wore PPE kits and went to get a patient. Look at that area. And we are saying at this point of time, let's go out and hold exams across the country and ask students who've been working for this 3 years, 4 years for this specific day to somehow manage to reach the examination centers, and we are telling them, sorry, we don't have a plan right now, but we will somehow figure out something in the next 1 week. Are we joking with the candidates right now? Do we not understand what they are going through, what they have gone through, their parents have gone through for the last 3 years, 4 years, for however long they have been preparing for a JEE exam or a NEET exam? I understand the importance of holding the exam as soon as possible for them. They can't spend another year studying like this. But what is our level of preparation? We are all clueless. Ask any state government today, any district authority today. They are all clueless about what's going to happen from a week from now on. That is my problem with the way we are handling this issue. Bharat, you wanted to make a point? Go ahead, please. And then we'll take on some viewers as well.
There are just 2 points that I wish to make. The first one, there were certain guidelines that the NTA had given in the JEE Mains admit card. The first, that we are supposed to remove our masks and wear a new one while appearing for the exam, which does not keep in mind the fact that touching and handling the masks in this case can expose us to the infection. Further, there has been no guidelines about central air conditioning that might pose a risk, which has been mentioned by the WHO. Also, I don't feel that postponing the exams for a few weeks or even a month can be a solution, because according to about the pandemic, the floods might get back, or we might have a solution on that. But just giving regard to the pandemic, we cannot expect it to be 100% safe unless we can have a vaccine.
Oh yes, absolutely. The vaccine's not coming for a while, but there has to be a better prepared solution and a situation, that we have. Now, my question is, did the governments not know this in March or April, that these exams will have to be held at some point? Why are we a week before the exams having this conversation without knowing the exact details? Should a student right now, whether it's Bharat or Advait, should they be sitting right now and thinking about how will they give exams wearing gloves? What about the air conditioning in that setup? What about the one next to me? If he fails the thermal screening, where will he go and sit and take the exam? What if I've already come in contact with him? Are those the things they should be looking at right now? Shweta Shalini wants to respond, and then we have viewers. Yes, Shweta.
Yes, Tanvi, I think I completely agree to all the points that Bharat has made and that you have made. But please understand, there are 2 more things which are extremely critical. One, we do not know when Corona is going to go away, right? So the end date, we do not know. We also do not know when the vaccines are going to come. And second, and the most critical thing here is, we know what one academic year means for students. 1 year, what it means for a career is also very, very critical. So the point is, these are unprecedented times. We need to work towards it. Yes, we knew it earlier on that exams will have to happen, but there were more critical things like the primary health facilities which had to be tackled, the death rate which had to be tackled, and so on and so forth. So the only thing that I can submit here is, this is a time when we should stop politics and get together on the implementation mode, because we need to save the careers of lakhs and lakhs of students.
Well, it's not as if the cases have gone anywhere. In fact, in states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, they are still peaking. We are yet to and hopefully about to hit our peak cases as these exams get held in most of these states. And in fact, Delhi may be the only one that's actually gone past its peak amongst the big ones that had this challenge. Ajay Devnath on the phone line with me. Ajay's daughter, I believe, is a JEE candidate. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, ma'am. My only submission is that we are hearing this peaking from since May, June, July, August. We don't know where it will go. But as of now, my submission is that, yes, there are challenges because of flood and this pandemic. State government should ensure that wherever the candidates are who are not having their own vehicle or some arrangement to travel, at least state government should take care of that. They provide the facility to stay and travel logistics to those students so that they can confidently appear in this exam.
Oh, okay, Ajay, I understand the point that you're making. In fact, let me take that across to Mr. Hussain. Mr. Hussain, Ajay was a viewer who was calling from Pune in Maharashtra, one of those states where they have so far vehemently oppose any kind of exams being held, whether they were college year exams or now these entrance exams. Mr. Hussain, if the states are still waking up to this and opposing it, where are they going to start preparing and facilitating these exams? The question that, the point that our viewer was raising.
Yeah, see, I think for BJP, everyone who is opposing this exam or everyone who is trying to stand with the students are playing politics. I don't know where the politics is here. It is the man ki baat of the students. I think the Prime Minister and the HRD Minister should understand and listen to the man ki baat of the students. There are 4,000 students who went on an hunger strike. But what I'm trying to understand is, see, we have two most populous states, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. You know what are the number of centers there? 7 in Bihar and 17 in Uttar Pradesh. You yourself mentioned there would be about 8.5 lakh students appearing for the exam. They will all be accompanied by their parents. That put together will be something like 12 to 15 lakh people, 15 lakh people's movement just for this examination. And I remember while some of us were taking these kinds of examination, all the hotels, dormitories, guest houses, they used to be blocked, like there used to be houseful kind of a situation. Now you tell me, all the hotels have been taken up for the quarantine centers. Most of the hotels are not working. Where will the students go and stay? Who will take care of them? See, these are the challenges. What we are just asking the government is, prepare yourself properly. Have a plan. See to that all the student reaches to these centers in a proper frame of mind, so that they get an equal opportunity where they can go and sit in a proper frame of mind and they can attend the examination. And as somebody mentioned earlier, not everyone in this country have access to examination centers. You were just showing a picture. How will the people from Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Assam, which are flood affected, how will they go to this examination center? We are just asking the government. There are challenges, we agree with that, but the government has to take the responsibility, prepare properly, and see to that everyone attends the examination in a proper frame of mind. For that, just don't tell that some opposition party is playing politics or doing politics, and these kind of statements will not help the students write the examination.
No, so I want to understand this, Dr. Hussain. What about the Congress ruled states? Have they at least begun the preparation outside of the political conversation that may happen with central BJP and central Congress? We are a week away from the exams. What do we tell the aspirants?
See, it is for the center to take a call. Center to tell the states in advance when they are going to have an examination. It is for the center to tell all the state governments as to what will be the schedule, how will be the time, what kind of preparations are needed, and especially in those states. I am from Karnataka. How will the students go and write the examination? It doesn't matter to me whether my party is in power or BJP is in power in Karnataka. But this is the third most affected state, third or fourth most affected state in the country. In a city like Bangalore, where it looks like every other person is infected here, how will the government see to it that the student will reach the examination center? Bangalore is generally flooded with the students when these kinds of examinations are there. So it is not about Congress ruled states or BJP ruled states. It is about the agency which is conducting the examination. It is about the government taking a call. Here it is the role of the central government. The central government has had to inform and prepare the state governments well in advance. That is our point.
Okay, Shweta Shalini wants to respond to that, and then we go across to Advait. Yes, Shweta.
Yes, Nasir ji. By the way, Tanvi ji, he neither answered your question, neither did he answer the audience question. But nonetheless, Nasir ji, now that you people have finished the politics and also selected a president for your party, why don't you just look at ensuring that implementation of these examinations in the states that you govern becomes a lot more easier? And please don't worry about UP and Bihar. Have you seen those chief ministers coming out and doing politics?
Why are you risking the lives of the students here? Don't get into the politics. Don't get into the politics, party politics part of it. The fact is the government has failed here.
what
The
needs to
fact
be
is the government
implemented.
has not prepared the minds of the
fact
students.
is
The
that
fact
you
is
guys are only
government
doing
is not
politics,
giving
nothing
logistical
else.
support.
The
The
fact
fact
that
is
you
that you are
don't want,
risking
there was a
the
lockdown,
lives of thousands
you
of
said that the
thousands,
economy
lakhs
needs
of
to run.
students
Let's
here.
not get
That is the
into the
point.
political
That is the
debate.
point.
You're not
That
going
is
to
the point.
score
You are
any
playing with the
political
lives
points.
and the careers of the students
May
here.
I please,
You
Dr.
just
Hussain
accept
and
that the government
Shweta
has not
Shalini,
prepared
you are
properly.
not going to get
Where
any
is the
political
politics
points
here?
out
Where
of
is
this
the politics
debate.
here?
All
Where
that
is the
the
politics here?
candidates, the
Where is the politics
aspirants
here?
really care about is their safety and security. If only either of you had
Nobody
an
is bothered
answer
about
for the
your
thousands
politics
and the
here.
lakhs of students today about how this is going to be held safely, why the centers were not increased, how are we going to
And we
ensure crowd
opposition will
control
not have
at
an
these
answer. The
centers?
government should have
What
an
is the
answer.
preparation, whether it is in Gujarat or Bihar or Uttar Pradesh or in Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana? Nobody knows. That's my whole point. And if only I had those answers rather than that bickering. Advait, let me come back to you. You've gone through the SOP that has been issued. Is there a specific concern that aspirants have that we can bring to the government and the organizers notice and say, well, this is another issue that you must address?
What I yes, we have seen many exams during the last 3 months, and none of the SOPs came into ground reality. All of it was just in the paper. That was what my point is. And when the state government cannot conduct small state science, how can they conduct such an act? There are no proper transportation facilities, public transportation, trains are not running as usual. So in this situation, how can they say that they can conduct the exam properly? The exam was conducted on May. By that on that time, the COVID case was just rising in India, and now the global hotspot. How can they say that they can conduct the exam in a proper manner at this situation?
Yes, I absolutely get your point. Here is the other issue, Kalikesh, that students have highlighted that SOP remains on paper. Let me also remind our viewers about what happened when exams were held and school level exams were held in Karnataka. Immediate spike in cases took place. We had crowding outside schools, even in Kerala. Parents all obviously accompanied their children to school. There was no other way. Public transport wasn't working. Then they all stood outside the gate, exam center gate, for hours together, and obviously there was more crowding and it led to a spike in cases. How do we ensure those things don't happen?
The only way to ensure those things don't happen is if you don't overcrowd exam centers, make sure that there is enough space for people to maintain social distancing, and ensure that enough protocols are actually being followed. Now, Tanvi, if you are doing an exam with the kind of pressure that we are talking about, the number of centers for the number of students that we are talking about, with the possibility of more than 10,000, 15,000 students in one center in certain cases, I think that's going to be virtually impossible. And really, one answer is to increase the number of centers. The other answer is to actually push these exams down by a few weeks and ensure that enough logistical support is given to students. I think that is the only way. There is a reason why schools and colleges across the world have not opened. And the fact is that most schools and colleges have actually adapted to the new way of living, and they've gone into internet. They can, governments can use televisions if they don't have access to internet online curriculums. But there is no reason why these exams could also not have been sort of motivated or prepared for in keeping in mind the prevailing circumstances. We are living in a different world, and it is a difficult time. And I shudder to think that if there are some cases in these very crowded centers, the number of students, young students and their parents who could possibly be infected would really push up India's numbers. And I don't know how the government would handle it after that.
Yes, and let me just add to this. I get your point. We haven't done it so far. Unfortunately, this is what the conversation should have been in the last couple of months, that okay, if the center wants to hold the exams and go ahead with it, how are we going to do it? Maybe we kept waiting for the Supreme Court to decide on it, but I don't think that's how things should work. Policy making cannot come to a standstill because the Supreme Court is looking at a policy-oriented case. That way, so many decisions will never get taken in our country. Unfortunately, that's what's happened in this case. And even if we say that now we need to buy time to do that, who takes the final decision? Shweta Shalini, can't we at least postpone it until we figure more examination centers, transport facilities for these people. I'm going to come to you in just a minute because I have a viewer on the phone line who's Dhananjay is on the phone line, a NEET aspirant, and he has a very interesting question to ask. Good evening, Dhananjay. What's your concern?
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I am from a Mangalpur village, Betia district from Bihar. My concern is that my village is flooded. My center is in Patna. There is only 2 centers in whole Bihar, almost about 20-25 district of whole Bihar as a state. There is only 2 centers, that is Gaya and Patna. And that center is almost about 300 kilometers from my house. How I will reach that center? There is no public transport available. There is no hotels opening at that place. If I'll reach the center, where I will live at that place? Where I will live that place? There is no boat also working. We are just some of the organization is helping us to get some food out there. I have prepared 2 or 3 years in the quota by spending lots of like 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs money. How it is that level equal playing field for us? If we are preparing for 2 or 3 years for an exam, and if we don't get an equal chance and an equal opportunity to appear in an exam and compete at that level, then our 2 or 3 years is lost. But how is that level equal playing field? We can't reach the exam center. We can't compete like the others who just come and say just the philosophical words of Supreme Court that life must go on, that this should move on. Like give there some shameless statements out there and say ki ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega, but nothing happens.
Dhananjay, your exam is on 13th. What are your options right now? How will you reach Patna, which is so far away?
But there is still no options left. First, I have to figure out how I'll move the Betia district, Betia city only. Because already there is flood out there. How I'll reach first Betia district only? There is no boat working. Some of the Hello?
Yes, Dhananjay, the other thing, I understand it's so difficult. I can't even imagine, what options you'll have, especially in Bihar, which is hit by floods.
Years, ma'am, I want to say that 2-3 years in quota, spending almost 3 to 4 lakhs money for just this preparation. Result will not affect me only. It will affect my family members also mentally and financially. I will not be able to again afford that much examination preparation. Like again, I will not be able to go to quota and prepare like that. Man, this is just like no leadership from Education Ministry side. He has not come and addressed all our concerns. Any of the NT official members. None of the person, anybody, till now, nobody has come out.
Yes, Dhananjay, so what I wanted to ask is, many people say that, we can't waste this year. Do you think that the exam should be postponed and or cancelled?
Saying that it is going to waste a year. Who is saying that, ma'am? Semester start from August only. If they are going to postpone it to November so that at least flood situation goes down, some of the cases will go down. Almost 4 months will pass, ma'am. Again, you are having 8 months remaining for almost completing a semester. Then you must decrease the summer vacation, and in that, ma'am, 4 months also there is winter vacation. There is so much holiday in that because of the festive period in from August to till the November side. Almost there might be 2 or 3 months will go invest that can be managed by decreasing the summer vacation, teaching some more extras, teaching in the weekends also, teaching on some holidays which can be managed also. They are not finding any solution since that. They are just coming and saying that no, there will be loss of only. Who is saying that there will be loss of on whole 1 year? There is not going to be loss for whole 1 year.
Okay, very very well made, Dhananjay. I wish you all the best. I hope there is some solution to your big problem. It's going to be a challenge, and all your hard work shouldn't go to waste. Thank you for calling, though, Dhananjay. Now, this is the point. And I'm going to ask, maybe Bharat or Advait want to get into this as well, simply from the point of view that you have, for example, in JEE, you have your first round of exam and then the main exam, and then your admission process starts. The academic calendar obviously is several months away. So isn't there a possibility that you hold your exam by end of January, set up your exam centers and still not compromise on your academic year? Advait?
I'm not a JEE aspirant.
You're a NEET aspirant. So what about that? Even there, like Dhananjay was saying, isn't it possible that we postpone the exam but still not compromise on your calendar year starting next year, the academic year? Okay, let me bring in Bharat at this point of time. Bharat, what is your view? Is it possible? Usually there is a gap that helps you prepare for the next round of exam.
Definitely, there is a gap, but the more important thing that can be addressed right now is if there is any other way without conducting the exams that we could be given our ranks, but that is a bit improbable as I suppose, because conducting the exams as it has been for the past 10 years or maybe even 20 years, there is no other way with which we can skip the exams. And further, we can cover up with the academic year, but the thing that we cannot cover up is that are we sure that even after the 4 months or the 5 months, we will be able to conduct the exams?
No, we are hoping that by then at least the state governments and the organization authorities figure out more examination centers and a means of transport for everybody. That's essentially the point. COVID cases may not go away. We believe the peak could have been 3 months ago. It could be 3 months later as well. And so, yes, that's not what I'm banking on at all, Bharat. Yes, Shweta Shalini wants to make a point. Go ahead.
Yes, Tanvi, see, I completely empathize with Dhananjay. I know Betia is about 200 kilometers from Patna, and it is heavily flooded right now. But the question is, yes, and the solution that he is talking about and you are talking about, I completely understand that as well. But please answer this question. Do you know that there are not going to be any more floods in, say, Maharashtra or Gujarat or any other state in November? I mean, see, Corona in itself was an unprecedented time. What we need to do is to find out a way to live with these problems. I mean, from Betia, he actually went to Kota and studied this hard. So, though I empathize as a mother of boys who will be soon appearing for exams, I completely empathize. But I still feel that we should stop politics. We should look into
I am not playing politics. I don't even know how to do that. Shweta Shalini, my simple point is this. You say, what if there are, floods in any other point of time or in a regular year if there are floods? Yes. But at that point of time, people still have the freedom to step out easily without the fear of COVID. People don't have to be figuring out public transport. People don't have to figure. Yes, but I am putting the onus on you and the state governments and the central government to ensure that you get the students to the exam centers. That's your responsibility. That is not the responsibility. You haven't done that.
The question is,
but where have you done that right now?
We can't be talking.
Can you not do it even in 3 months? Are you telling me that even if you postpone the exams, you will not be able to do it in 3 more months? That all our state governments are so useless that even in 3 months, they cannot figure out additional examination centers and they cannot figure out mode of transportation. Are we saying that our state governments are so useless that even if we give them 3 months, they cannot figure out examination centers and mode of transport for our aspirants?
Absolutely not. What I said was we should concentrate our efforts on doing exactly what you primarily say and understand that holding examination is today mandatory for us because we do not want the students to lose out the academic year and because this is what the Supreme Court wants. As a mother, I have already put my point forward that I would also not want the exams to be held. I also stand with the students, but I also critically understand that we cannot be perpetually in lockdown mode and life has to move on. This is exactly what was told by other political parties when we talk about economy, because economy needs to move on, businesses need to move on. They said that lockdown was not necessary, and now I feel personally that as far as the students' career goes, we need to plan more centers, we need to plan more transport, but that is the implementation that needs to be done and needs to be focused. So we need to focus our energy there.
Kalikesh, your response to this, can we get additional time and ensure that the state governments work on this, even if they haven't so far?
Look, our state government has emphatically asked the center to nominate more centers, examination centers. Whether you are saying 3 months, Tanvi, I think we can do it in much shorter time. But the opening of centers lies with the central government. They have to nominate, just saying put one in every district. Our state government, the chief minister has ensured the central government that they will make adequate preparations to ensure the exams go well. What we are trying to do is avoid overcrowding, avoid trouble with logistics in the manner in which is happening with the number of centers, that small centers that's being opened up. I think if you have more centers, within a few weeks, the state governments will be able to ensure that exams take place well. I don't think we have a problem in ensuring that more centers open up, but it's the central government's decision. There's nothing we can do about it.
Okay, Kaushik is on the phone line calling us from Kolkata. Yes, Kaushik, good evening. What's your view?
Madam, actually, I do not support this thing. I do not support this thing because last year my daughter faced the exam, and during that time I have seen that many students, they are coming from the districts many miles away. Particularly in West Bengal, I can tell they will not be able to reach the center. Okay, first thing. Then regarding NEET exam, there may be seat outside the state, and there is an embargo going on between the states. So if the center is from West Bengal to Odisha or Bihar, they will not be able to go to that state to take part in the exam.
Yes, you have a very valid point. Some of the callers and our viewers also raising the same issue from far off locations. How do they reach the examination center? Let me also read out what one of our viewers online is saying. Sunil Vadera says, guidelines are good, but what is the guideline to ensure the compliance thereof? There is a trust deficit. Are all candidates going to be tested for virus before the exam? No, they won't be tested. They will be thermal screened and they will have to present a self-attested document to say, well, I don't have any COVID symptoms. If they fail the screening test, they will be shifted to another center, another separate isolated room where they take the exam and not sit with the other people. Well, that being said and done, my only point is this, that if we are discussing and debating how and when parliament session should be held, because their health and safety is also at risk. If we are discussing and debating how Bihar elections should be held at this point of time, why is it that the governments of this country and the states and the central authorities don't believe it is important to, with the same zest and the same interest and at a timely manner, debate these issues, debate education, debate entrance exams, academic year, calendar year for schools and colleges, entrance exams. Why don't we do this when the time is right? Why are we waking up to it a week beforehand and still playing politics over it? Where is the preparation? Viewers, you will remember on the day the Supreme Court said that nothing doing, exams cannot be postponed. If COVID stays here for a year, are you going to not take exams for a year? We asked that very day, how many states are ready? When will they start preparing? Because even at that time, it was less than a month to go for these exams. Today is 25th of August. Exams start from September 1st. What is the preparation? Nothing. Students in far-flung areas are trying to figure how they will make it to the examination center. Now, unless the government believes that just like the migrants who took it upon themselves to walk for hundreds of kilometers to get to their hometown, that's what they expect the students to do, I don't know how this is going to be a uniform playing field. This is not about those who are sitting in cities like Mumbai or Delhi or even Bengaluru or Chennai. This is about those who are outside of these cities. This is about those who are in smaller towns and villages. This is about those whose examination center is 50, 100, 150, 200 kilometers away. How are they going to reach these examination centers? I want one state government to at least give me an answer for that. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. We will not stop asking these questions until we get some well-prepared plans and policies in place. Thank you for joining us.